You are listening to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. I'm Kyle Bryan.
And I'm Sean Baumstark. Together, we're navigating life with disability.
Sean and I were both diagnosed with a rare, debilitating, life-shortening disease that has affected our physical abilities and causes us to live with urgency. We are constantly looking for the next challenge, not only in spite of our disease, but because of it.
We are two dudes who constantly challenge our own abilities, and we invite you to do the same.
All right, welcome back to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. This is episode 15. We are continuing our conversation about Race Across America, TeamFARA in Race Across America. And how's it going, Sean?
You know, I'm doing great. I'm super excited for the conversation we're going to have right now.
Awesome, yeah. On the phone with us, we have Mike Mellott. Mike, how's it going?
Going good over here.
What up, Mikey?
Awesome.
Good to be on.
And we have John Lockwood.
Good afternoon, fellas.
Otherwise known as Hammer and Hank.
So the team has got back together on the podcast today. These are all three of my teammates, Sean, Mike, John. And so we're excited to talk about Race Across America and just kind of get some thoughts about what it was like for all of us. Just to disclose, John has his baby in his lap, and so if anyone hears any baby noises, that's John. And if he needs to go, he's gonna take off too. So that's what's up.
I think that's actually a really good place to start. John, tell us, there's technically a fifth person on the phone. Tell us a little bit about this little guy.
Yeah, well, we have John Henry Lockwood III, and he goes by Henry, so he's taken after Pops, and
All right.
hopefully the nickname of Henry Hank shall continue. But yeah, he's 11 weeks old and a little bit fussy today, but pretty cool dude in general.
Congratulations, man.
Extremely blessed to have a little baby boy in the family, and just trying to figure out this new life.
Mike, how old is your baby?
She's 12 months old.
So life has changed a lot since the race in 2010. That's pretty awesome.
I guess
so.
Congratulations to both of you. TeamFARA RAAM, or the race, they've both gotten married and they've both started having babies. I don't at all feel old and super behind in life. Not at all.
Yeah, same here. I'm a slacker.
You guys are the lucky ones.
All right, the truth comes out. Let's jump into this conversation about Race Across America. Sean and I wrote down a few things that we kind of wanted to talk about. First of all, I wanted to get your first reactions when you heard about Race Across America. When I called you up on the phone and was like, "Hey, do you want to do this race?" And just trying to digest what it actually was and if we were going to be able to do it. John, what did you think? Because I think you were the first one I called.
Yeah, it was interesting because I always get so pumped every time, we talk about riding bikes and, doing crazy things and, trying to raise awareness for FARA. And I completely overheard Race Across America, and I just heard Ride Across America. And I thought, I've always wanted to ride a bike across the country. This sounds really cool. Yeah, I'd love to do it. We'll figure out the logistics, but yeah, count me in.
Yeah.
And, 2 weeks later, we show up to this orientation, and there's these huge banners of race across America with sponsorships and, you know, elite athletes from around the world are walking around the parking lot. I'm pretty sure it's not weird. That's the wrong orientation.
Pretty sure it's not going to be a leisurely sightseeing tour.
Yeah, it's like, I had to rethink this.
John was like thinking about which book he wanted to read during the ride across America, and like how much sleep he was going to get and stuff.
Yeah, this is a vacation, right?
Yeah, not quite. So, Mike, what did you think when we first talked about Race Across America?
Well, you first called me, and I thought we had ridden to Vegas, and that was fun. That took 13 days. And you told me going across the United States, and I was like, man, that's crazy. Yeah, I'd be up for that. And then you told me that we only get 9 days to do it, and I was like, that's insane. But I'm still on board for doing this.
Awesome.
I think it's true, and obvious of these other two guys on the phone. They love cycling, and I think it's pretty obvious, especially if you've seen the film, that if a bike's involved, they're probably not going to say no.
That's a good thing to remember in conversations with these guys when trying to get them to do something. Like, just throw in, oh yeah, we're going to do it on our bikes, and then, you know, it's done. Done deal.
I think what I'm hearing is next time I need to move, I can just attach a little bike ride to it and be like, hey boys, you want to help me come move? And we're going to ride our bikes afterwards.
Yep, pretty much.
Sure. Awesome.
So, the next thing is, was it anything like you imagined it would be? After you sort of wrapped your head around what it actually was, you know, there was a lot of lead-up time for us to sit in bed at night and go, geez, am I going to be able to do this? How is this going to work? Whatever. You know, we worked out a lot of stuff ahead of time and did some practice runs and stuff like that. But once we actually got into it, was it actually like what you imagined it was going to be?
I think it was about 50% what I imagined. It was I had this kind of perfect dream of just strolling, racing across the United States, and the parts that I didn't think I was going to enjoy the most, riding at night, real early in the morning. I think those are some of the times that I actually enjoyed riding the most. Is those times that I didn't think that I was going to. It really surprised me.
So speaking of early morning, I was thinking about. Because I wasn't there, but you guys crossed Wolf Creek Pass over 10,000 feet at 5 in the morning or something like that, and it was like 31 degrees on top or something like that.
That was a blur in my mind. I mean, that was just like, I don't know how Sean and I did that, but it's just like, that was so early, and the next thing I knew is it was like time to shift out with you guys, and all of a sudden John gets all this sweet downhill.
I know, you guys work all night to gain that elevation, then we just take it away.
Woke up with a cup of coffee and said, thanks.
And then just cruise downhill.
With my cup of coffee.
You know, I think actually Mike made a comment there that reminds me, for the sake of our listeners, if you're not familiar with the layout or the breakdown of the team, basically the four of us broke up into pairs. So Mike and I were a pair throughout the race, and then John and Kyle were a pair throughout the race. And the way the race worked, the two of us, Sean and Mike, or Mike and myself, we would kind of take turns riding for a short bit of time for about 4 hours while John and Kyle rested, and then as pairs we would switch places. So that's kind of how it worked, and that's why Mike and Mike says Sean and I climbed the divide there. And one thing I remember about that particular evening or super early morning is that it was probably the only time where it took me the full 30 to 40 minutes to ride one whole mile. It was that steep, and naturally I am fairly slow anyway. So going uphill, literally, it was like every mile Mike and I were trading off because it was just a really difficult climb.
Yeah. So, and then like after that downhill, John and I had a pretty steep climb, but we got to do that climb at like 10 in the morning. It was nice and warm.
The sun was shining.
It was super steep, but we were just cruising up the hill, and then we get to the top, and John's like, all right, we got to snap a photo. It's the top of the second highest point in the whole race. So we snap a photo, and Bob O'Neill comes over, and one of our crew members, and goes, John, all right, you got to take it easy down this hill. And John takes off, and he hits 63 miles per hour. What was that like, John?
That was exhilarating. It was, I don't know, I was going so fast that I tried to slow down a couple of times, and I realized that probably wasn't going to happen, and I don't know, all I was thinking about was how I'm going to stay upright and, try to focus on the road ahead. And I remember there was an RV in front of me, and I had to pass it on a 2-lane road, and it was pretty nerve-wracking, but really, really exhilarating at the same time. So I don't know if I was so scared that I was just having fun, or that if I didn't have a choice, that I was just going to embrace it and just go for it.
Nice. Like John was saying, we're split up into basically teams of 2 on our race, and we would each get to sleep for each team would get like a 4-hour break, and within that 4 hours we'd try and get some sleep. It would usually end up being about 2.5 hours sleep, I think. And so the thing that really kept me going in those tough times when it was hard to wake up and get going, I remember Felicia had gotten all these people to write handwritten notes before we left, and they gave them to us periodically throughout the race, just kind of as inspiration. And I remember that being one of the things that really drove us and kept us going. Do you guys remember that aspect?
Absolutely. Yeah, it was incredibly painful to try to think about getting out of, bed, 3 days into this race with a combined of maybe 10 hours of sleep. And to think about getting back on the saddle again was pretty painful. But, once we got those letters of, stories of different kids around the country who are suffering, from Friedreich's ataxia, it was pretty easy then to just pop up and say, okay, let's go. I get the easy job. Let's go.
Yeah, definitely. It's pretty much the same reaction as John had to them. You just read them, and it's just like, this thing that we're doing is so much bigger than just us getting on our bikes and racing. Like it's about more than just racing. If this is the little bit of pain that I have to endure to help further, this initiative, this cause, that it kind of almost just pulls you out of bed or out of the funk or not wanting to get going kind of mood.
I got a little choked up here and there and even kind of frustrated, but when I felt the pain or would cry, it wasn't because it was painful. It was those moments where it was really difficult and painful. I just got more mad than crying. But one thing I remember specifically talking about these notes, or even just the different support, and like Mike said, realizing it's something so much bigger than us just pedaling our bikes. Was in those moments where we would be in some random location and there'd be a small swarm of folks to cheer us on. Or in some cases, there was a big crowd. They had signs. They had brownies or cookies. They had barbecue sandwiches. They have all sorts of things. And they made it a point to drive however far they needed to just randomly sit up on the side of the road and wait for us to pass by just to encourage us, just to help us keep going. And those are the moments where I found myself on the bike like crying, realizing that it's so much bigger than just a bike race. And I remember specifically being somewhere around Kansas City, and all of a sudden a cop shows up behind me with his lights, and then another cop shows up in front of me with his lights. So at first I'm thinking, oh shoot, there's something wrong, I gotta pull over. But really all it was 2 or 3 miles of a police escort to help me get through this little area of town. And it was moments like that that I realized, oh my gosh, we're doing something incredible here.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. You know what's crazy is that I met the people that organized that police escort. They're like, hey, remember that police escort you guys had? That was us. I was in Oklahoma for a film screening, and this couple showed up, and they're like, yeah, we organized that police escort. Oh, no way!
That's
so
crazy.
that was pretty cool. But also those 2 people, their son Bill. I don't. If you guys remember meeting Bill and Marty? They were 2 guys that have FAA that met us at a time station one time at 11 p.m. or something like that. They were waiting around all day with our signs and stuff. And that was sort of a defining moment in the race, I think, for all of us to just realize what it meant to people, what we're doing. And unfortunately, we lost Bill a couple years ago, but it was really, really cool to see his parents and to talk to them and to realize, that we just got to keep trucking on, and honor Bill's memory and everyone who fought so hard to get this thing done. We just got to keep going.
Hey, another question we wanted to really talk about with John and Mike was just talking about some of the favorite memories or even moments of the race that you guys might have.
Gosh, there's so many great memories, and well, actually, Henry just decided to spit up all over himself. So, Mike, I'm gonna hand it off to you.
All right, go, Mike.
Right.
That's what Henry thinks about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I mean, where to start? John pretty much is just like, there's so many good memories of. I mean, I think the best part for me was the first 2 miles when we started, and we're all 4 of us were together, and then the last, what is that, a 5-mile lead into the finish where we all got to ride together. I mean, just we were 4 different guys from beginning to end in those, after the race passed, and we're
for sure,
from start to finish. But I just remember just riding down, that with the escort down to the finish line, and that was emotional, just seeing everybody there and all the signs, and that was one of the best parts. And then also the other part where we all just ganged up as a team and just really hammered that first real big climb there through Colorado, and just knocked out big chunks of the time out of it. Those were some of my biggest memories when we were all together.
Yeah, that was cool because, like you said, most of the time we're riding basically solo. But there were those times, yeah, like the end that we all got to be on the road together and like right next to each other. So yeah, that was super cool.
You get so used to just riding by yourself and not really talking with people. It was just those times were just so special to be able to share that with you guys. And then there's so many random memories. Like I think one of the biggest times I was scared on the race was, going through the backwoods, in the middle of the night, and all you hear is this chain rattling, and then this big dog starts barking. You running right next to you, and it just reaches the end of its chain, and you're hoping that the chain stops it. You start pedaling faster, and I don't even remember where we were, but that was like that got my heart jumping, and I think I sprinted faster than I ever had anywhere else in the race.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. I'm glad it was your shift, not mine, for sure.
But yeah, just there's so many little memories like that just you start thinking about it, and it's like all these little things. Like Sean, you remember when it was just like miserably muggy, and there's more bugs than I've never seen that many bugs out before. Like that was insane. And it's they're just like stuck to you.
I feel like it was the Midwest. It was that humidity. It was, different bugs at night that just all over the place. I definitely remember what you're talking about. And we all get along so well, I think. And obviously, we've gotten together over the years and we'll all be in the same place and have a good time and enjoy each other's company. But one thing I'm picturing about those evenings or early mornings where the race was hard to enjoy was how much we didn't care to talk to each other. And there was even a couple scenes in the film that revolves around Ram where it was like, all right, it's your turn, get out of here, just go, I want this to be over.
So you guys got along really well on the race then, huh?
I think we all got along. You just you get tired and it's kind of miserable in some points where it's just like there are no high fives right now. Just keep moving.
Yeah.
This is not a rally moment.
Let's high five when we get to Annapolis. Yeah. Nice.
Any chance John is back or not? Not quite. You don't have to. Oh, you are?
I'm back. Yep, I'm back. I'm just thinking about some good times that we had, and it seems like that race was so long ago, but there's some real fresh memories, and one that I'll never forget is that transition in Durango, Colorado, to where Kyle and I had just climbed about 4,000 feet. Mm-hmm. And we're just kind of settling into the base of the Rockies. And I'll never forget because I have a buddy who lives in Durango, and we had talked about, where he could meet us up and, he can meet the team. And he was just super pumped for us. He was one of my college roommates, great guy, and just so thrilled that we were doing RAM. And so as we pulled into Durango, I remember we made the exchange, and, Sean and Mike got on the road, and Kyle and I were just completely wasted. At this point, the altitude's starting to kick in, and we're really feeling the fatigue of maybe the third day of the race. No one, all of the adrenaline was kind of settling down, and we were just turning into zombies. And I'm pretty sure I passed out with all my cycling gear on, shoes and everything. And I could have swore it must have been 5 minutes had gone by, and the crew chief, Mike Bryant's, shaking my leg, Lockwood, you're up, and I'm like, Mike, man, please don't mess with me, so tired right now. And he's like, no, come on, man, you're up. I'm like, it's impossible. Like, I'm still wearing my clothes. Like, I haven't even changed. And he goes, no, get up, get on the bike. Sean, he's going to the hospital, and you're in.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Is he okay? Well, yeah, I think he's okay. He's going to be okay, but you're in. And I'm like, that son of a bitch. What did he do? He's be okay, but damn it, he better be seriously injured.
So
to find out, Sean, I think you had poked yourself in the eye.
Well, I prefer the word punched. I think poke is a little lighthearted. So I definitely punched myself in the eye.
yeah, Sean, why don't you recount in detail what actually happened?
Okay, I'll tell that part real quick, and then I do want to continue with John in terms of how you coped and how you got through back-to-back pulls and all that. But really what happened was Mike and I had just finished a ride, and we got in the RV, and we had eaten and started to relax, and it was time to get in bed. And we're all sharing this tiny RV, so to keep it neat and clean, we would roll up our sleeping bags and kind of make room and keep the place organized somewhat for all 17 people involved. Well, it was time to get our beds ready, so I went to open my sleeping bag and unroll it, and I was pulling on the drawstring, and somehow my hand slipped, or I let go, or something went wrong as I was pulling upward on the drawstring. And of course, my knuckle went right into my eye, full force, because, again, I was trying to quickly unravel this tight sleeping bag. And I just didn't knock myself out, but knocked myself backwards. And I'm just, like, in pain. And of course, Mike's probably looking at me like, what the heck is your problem, bro? Because he's sitting next to me getting his bed ready. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it hurts so bad. And, didn't worry about it. Put some eye drops in, I think. It was all teary, and I couldn't open my eye, but we were all so tired, so I just went to bed. Well, the regret in this is after a couple hours of having my eye closed, it was really hard to open, and it was really painful when I woke up from that quick nap, and it was just so excruciatingly painful. Got through it, did some ice, did some water, and did everything we could think of to get it to a point where I could at least keep my eye open. As soon as I got on the bike again, the wind and the air and whatever else was going on, it was just so painful. I thought I had done some serious damage to my eye, and Mike and the crew were like, hey, maybe we should get it checked. If we're going to get it checked, it's now or never, because once we get through Durango, there won't be a hospital or a clinic anywhere nearby for, hundreds of miles. So, to my, or against my own will, John, the crew made me go to the hospital. Okay, I had no desire to take that kind of break and go rest at the emergency room, okay?
Hey, I just want to point out. Well, I just want to point out that was the gnarliest injury we had on the entire race. Was Sean punching himself in the face trying to open his sleeping bag.
To Sean's credit, it did look like he had just got out of a prize fight. Like his eye was completely bloodshot and swollen and red. It looked pretty gnarly. So I don't blame you, Sean.
Yeah. Yes, you do.
So anyway, so John, continue with your story about getting woken up and put on your bike after like a 10-minute nap.
Yeah. So I was obviously a little discombobulated. I was at first I was kind of like, this is funny, all right, and then once the severity of this set in, like the adrenaline started pumping again, and I got on the bike and started pedaling and kind of got out of the transition area and back on the road again, and all I could think about was, holy crap, Sean gonna be okay, and so I kept kind of going back to the car and like, hey, is everything all right? And they're like, we don't know. Like, we think it's good. Let's just keep riding. So all I could think about for the next about 30 minutes was like, dude, if Sean doesn't make it back from the hospital, like, we're in big trouble. And so I actually started pedaling slower. I thought, okay, I need to actually conserve more energy. Like, we're going to have to climb up the Rockies with 3 people. So I don't know. I just kind of fell into this weird place. And I was actually pedaling so slow. Well, before this happened, it started to get dark. And one of the crew's like, "Hey, Lockwood, you're swerving pretty bad, like, wake up." And because I think I was kind of like dozing off on the bike. And I remember that there was a point to where actually, like, I was riding against the guardrail. I was going so slow that, like, my right handlebar was touching the guardrail, and I was still riding.
Jeez.
Wow.
They had to, like, honk the horn at me. They're like, "Wake up!" And I kind of snapped out of it again and was like, "What the heck's going on?" So I stopped for a minute and got off the bike, and I needed to take a little break because I was a little bit out of it. But that's about the last thing that I remembered of that transition. Was I thought I fell, but then I wasn't because I was still pedaling. But I was just going so slow that I was just kind of like riding the guardrail. It was really weird.
Wow. Well, I think that situation really speaks to what I felt a whole lot on the race was like energy from all of you guys, like knowing what John was doing, just to keep the team moving. That motivated all of us even more, and hearing about Mike and Sean's climb up the Rockies, and just getting in the follow vehicle and hearing about all the stuff that happened during the last shift. That's really a lot of what drove me, is hearing so much rad stuff from other people on the team.
That was fun to get that, because you do transition, and the people would do 8-hour shifts in the car while we did 4-hour shifts. So you'd get to, like, "Oh, what did you guys see? What did they do? How many miles did they cover?" And "Oh, we could do more than that." That little bit competitive. Like,
Yeah. It definitely helped keep the spirit of competition alive, for sure.
Yeah.
When going back to the whole, Sean's going to the hospital and John's going to ride a lot, before you knew John was going to come meet you, what was going through your head when the team told you I was not going to be there to transition for you for a little while? Did you think, "Oh, shoot, the next 4 hours I'm by myself"? Or what exactly was going through your head when you lost your partner?
That's pretty much what went through my head. It was like, well, I've ridden my bike for 4 hours before. I'll just, like, kind of like John said, like, I'll just, throttle down just a little bit and just pace myself, make sure I can make it 4 hours. And then, like John said, it was like, well, man, what if Sean doesn't come back? Or, like, doing this with 4 people is insane enough, but doing this with 3 people, that's crazy. I don't know. We'll keep going, but will we make it? Or all those kind of thoughts start going in your head. But yeah, once I heard John was coming to help me out, I don't even remember how long I actually rode before John was able to get there. I know it was significantly longer than the normal pull for me would have been, but yeah, I heard John was coming. I was like, "Oh, thank goodness!" And it was fun because I got a chance to ride with John a little bit. So
that was cool.
One of the questions that I get a lot when we do screenings is, what did you eat, and how did you manage nutrition? And so I kind of wanted to get your perspective from John and Mike on that.
And in the beginning, I didn't have an appetite at all in the beginning. And then right around day 2, it was just like, give me anything that is edible. I was so hungry, and I got my appetite back, and it was just like any pasta, carb, anything sounded good as far as fueling. But we were pretty pretty strict on the all the supplements we're taking. John, you remember more about the supplements, I think.
Yeah, that was all John's fault, by the way, all the supplements. So, John, why don't you tell us a little bit about the supplements you had us on?
Okay. So, we had contacted Hammer Nutrition because that was one of my responsibilities, was try to figure out, how we were gonna, have the endurance to get from, one coast to the other, and consume enough calories, and stay hydrated was, I guess, one of the biggest risks that we had learned in the orientation, was that if you get dehydrated, then you're done. And we had a lot of pretty warm terrain to ride through to make hydration even more challenging. So I don't know, someone came up with the idea, and maybe it was myself, because I had started taking some Hammer Nutrition supplements, and so I contacted the company and said, hey, we're doing, Race Across America, and they're like, oh, that's great. And I said, we need a little consult, can you kind of tell us what we're going to need? And they're like, oh, yeah, no problem. We sponsor a lot of athletes who do Race Across America, and, we'll get you hooked up. And I can't remember exactly what supplements they had recommended, but there was about 14 of them.
And John bought all of them. He was like, yes, I'll take all 14.
I thought, well, how are we, you got to take this one every 2 hours, and this one every 3 hours, and this one, in the morning, and this one in the evening, and, I was like, well, we're going to need a spreadsheet to manage this, and, there's no way that's going to happen. And so I think we cut it down to about 6 different supplements, and 2 of them were for hydration. One of them was like a multivitamin. The other one was like to prevent lactic acid buildup, and just all of this stuff. And I thought, okay, yeah, we're going to need to do this. And so, we divided up all these 6 different supplements into like, I think it was like 1 bag per rider per day. And it ended up being like 30 pills a day we had to take.
all packaged by my mom in the little baggies.
Yes.
So we were all riding around with this giant sack of pills that we had to, choke down every hour, and it just, I think by day 3 or by day 4, like they were just sticking to the side of your mouth, and like you couldn't swallow them, and
I never wanted to see another pill again.
Yeah, and there's a skit in the movie that kind of captures the essence of the supplements, and if you haven't seen it, stay tuned. It's pretty awesome.
Definitely one of my favorite scenes. It's just so funny, and I just love what it captures between Mike and myself. I'm glad you mentioned that. It's one of my favorite scenes in the film. But one thing we also, I remember those little baggies of pills, and if I remember correctly, the baggies of pills only lasted a few days. I feel like eventually we quit doing the bag, all 30, and we cut it down to like maybe just 8 or 10. But beyond the nutrition and all those pills, the supplement side of it, what was going on with food-wise? Mike, you mentioned getting your appetite back. How did we handle, or what did you guys think of actual stuff you could chew and swallow? Like, how are you with all the peanut butter, everything, or vegetables and every single in our breakfast cereal? Like, how are you handling that?
John forced me to eat broccoli on every time we got in the RV. It's like, here, eat this. It's good for you. And then
I'm pretty sure we had broccoli in our oatmeal.
Yeah, broccoli in like everything. Broccoli in your coffee. Like, no, I didn't drink coffee. But
no, seriously, there was like, we had probably I don't know, like 4 or 5 cases of like Cliff Bars and goos and all of this, what I'll refer to as just like prepackaged, calories. And the first couple of days, we were pretty, diligent about, after every ride, eat a power bar, eat a banana, and we were, eating like we were supposed to. But I think all of our systems just kind of hit a brick wall as we were heading into Arizona. Maybe 12 or 14 hours into the race, we all kind of started bonking. And I remember that, there was nothing that you could hand like anybody, and no one was eating. I actually started to really panic.
Yeah, so I have a story about that. So we're in Flagstaff, Arizona, and John, you set this up perfect because nobody was eating. We're all trying to find new things to eat, something that tastes good. Sean was having like bad stomach problems, and we were getting worried about him because he was running out of energy and whatever. So we're in Flagstaff, and we're like, Sean, what's your go-to? Well, like, what's your favorite food? What can you eat when, what tastes good right now? Taco Bell. So
without fail,
we go and get him 2 gorditas, and it cures his stomach problem, and he's able to eat from now on. Like, all right, that's the secret to Race Across America nutrition is gorditas.
Yes.
Somebody brought us a big thing of spaghetti, didn't they?
Yeah, we had a giant bowl of spaghetti.
That was like day 3, I think. Somebody had met us with this huge tray of spaghetti, and that's when I got my appetite back, because I just remember eating like 4 bowls full of spaghetti before I went to bed that out of whatever time it was. Going to bed in the middle of the day,
And then you felt really good when you woke up, I bet.
Yeah.
I remember where we were, but one of my favorite meals, somebody had brought takeout from some barbecue joint, and it was like pulled pork burgers or some sort of sandwich. But the favorite part were the French fries. There were a side of fries with the barbecue sandwich or whatever it was, and I just remember the salt, the barbecue goodness, everything about it was just so stinking good. And I don't think it was anything fancy, or maybe even award-winning. It was just so good in the moment.
Yeah.
I don't remember eating that at all. You must have
Really?
all that.
Well, we were in Kansas. I remember we were in Kansas, and it was so bloody hot. Like, this guy had this huge spread, like brisket, pulled pork, barbecue chicken.
Yeah, it was Mark
And
Bogucki. His daughter Lauren has the FA, and he came out and set up his barbecue in Kansas.
Wow.
He had the best spread, but it was like 110 degrees out, and like I couldn't eat any of it. I was so bummed. Like, I would take one bite and almost throw up.
Oh man!
But I remember we had some left over. I think that was like the next day or something. I ended up having a pulled pork sandwich, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I remember the white styrofoam carryout container dishes. I can picture it all. That was, for whatever reason, that was one of my favorite meals on the road.
Boy. Awesome. All right, so as we near the end of our conversation, Sean and I wanted to talk a little bit about the fact that we had cameras on us almost all the time during the entire race. And so for the listeners, there was a documentary that we continue to keep talking about called The Ataxian, and you can check out the trailer at theataxianmovie.com. But anyway, there were cameras on us almost all the time, and just wanted to throw that out and see what you guys thought of the cameras, Sean or John and Mike.
Well, it was interesting because it was almost there were times to where like I wanted to punch the camera guys in the faces because like you'd have just like snot running down your nose. You're dying of thirst. You're like having like heat exhaustion, and this dude will pop a camera in your face and start asking you questions, and like, like get out of my face. Like, just go away.
I have nothing to say to you right now.
Yeah. I just want to die, so go away. Yeah. And then there was other times to where it was like, I would see Kyle being filmed as we were like in a transition, and I would be in a minivan next to him, and like the stuff that Kyle would say would be so like real, and it would like totally ground me and like bring me back to reality. Is that we weren't just a bunch of guys riding our bikes, trying to make a movie or a film. It was like, this is real. And Kyle, for some reason, always just come up with like the most amazing material that would humble me and bring me right back to where I needed to be, which was like, okay, it's time to focus. We got to race. And so that was pretty cool.
Thank you for saying that. What I remember is that I went into it and I was like, oh, we're going to have cameras on us for 8 days. Like, I'm sure there will be a point where I'm going to get used to it and just, like, forget about the cameras and just go about my business, right? No, never happened. I always felt like somebody was watching me, like, all the time.
I think some of the best moments are the candid ones that they caught of us when we're just, like, delirious, like, don't know what we're saying moments,
Yeah.
where you're feeling heat exhaustion. Yeah, there's some good moments that they caught.
I think I saw a video clip of you. It didn't make it in the movie, but you were doing a rap. You made up a rap song or something, right? Do you remember that, Mike?
Yeah, I do. I remember doing that. I don't remember what the rap was, but I remember doing that.
Well,
you have all this time on the bike to yourself. You just start trying to entertain your mind.
I think you make a good point there, Mike. There's so, like Kyle said, the cameras were always there, always on, and the film only captures, about an hour and a half of everything. So I'm sure there's so much that would be embarrassing. There's so much that could probably lead to some sort of blackmail. There's all kinds of stuff I'm sure that the producers have hidden away that we may or may not ever see. But one memory I have specifically, and I'm really sorry if this is embarrassing for you, Mike, but I know that you got to a point where you just didn't care about the cameras and you did your business whenever business needed to be handled. Do you remember anything of that nature that maybe you want to talk about?
I had, when the moment hits you and you got to do your business, it's just you lose all dignity when you're in the middle of nowhere and there's no bathroom. And I mean, there were several times, but I just leaned against the van and just right there,
Well, and really, like, I don't think there's a reason for you to feel like your dignity was lost, because I was like jealous. I was like, wow, that takes a lot of like composure to be able to do that in front of all this.
Well, it's on the side of the freeway and cars flying by. Yeah, it
was always amazing too, because it really didn't seem to bother Mike. He was like, well, that's done. Let's move on. Like, there was no, oh my gosh, I'm so embarrassed. I'm sorry, guys. It was definitely I don't care.
It is what it is.
For sure.
All right, last question. Why did you do the race? What was the purpose of your participation overall? And John, I'll throw that one to you.
All right. Well, I mean, the whole point of doing this race was to raise awareness, for Friedreich's ataxia, and most importantly for the Research Alliance. to spread the word around, the severity of this disease and how many people it's impacting and how little that we knew about it. And so, the whole purpose of the four of us and my purpose was to get from point A to point B, to get to Oceanside, to Annapolis, to be able to tell this story, to be able to endure the challenge and to finish, and to be able to say, why did you race your bike across the country? Well, we did it so people who are suffering from Friedreich's ataxia can have some additional hope that more people are going to know about this disease and that more research will get funded and that, the cure will come even quicker. Mm-hmm. A huge mission, that we had to undertake.
Awesome. Love that. Mike, what about you?
Yeah, mine is definitely along those lines too. I think also, the fact of doing something just crazy, epic, and insane was a draw for me. But that was my initial draw. I was like, this is so amazing. Like, I want to be a part of it. And then it just transformed into this, like I want to, just how Sean and, kind of one of Sean's things that he was doing through it was, like, he didn't want to let Friedreich's ataxia hold him back from ever trying to do something. And just, like I was just honored to be a part of, your guys' mission and purpose to get you guys across the United States and help show that, you can still do crazy things with Friedreich's ataxia, that you don't have to let it hold you down and you can still get out and be involved in, dreams, and they just take a different shape, but you can still go after your dreams. Mm. That was really kind of what that epic adventure turned into for me, was just like, man, I want to see you guys fulfill your dreams and be a part of this, and just something that was bigger than myself. And just seeing that, years later now, I've seen everything that's come out of it, and just the impact that 8 days had on so many different people in the community. And it was really cool to be a part of. I'm really just honored to be involved in it.
Awesome. Wow. Yeah, that's those are pretty powerful thoughts from you guys. I'm incredibly moved that we all did it, but even more so moved that we got to share the journey with you guys. I know John you and Kyle have been friends for a long time, and Mike and I go back to like high school age, and well, at least for Mike, I'm quite a bit older than him. But anyway, it is really neat to think back and see, like Mike said, the impact it's had and on the community, but also to share the journey with you guys. It's incredibly honoring, just even for me, that we were all able to do this together, and we've all had a hand in like John said, raising that hope and shedding light on something that always needs a little more effort. So I guess ultimately what I'm saying is, Mike and John, thank you so very much for being a part of it, for being with us on the phone today, but even more so for still being friends and still being involved in the cause and still riding your bike and still making things happen to draw attention, to raise awareness, and to move the needle forward. I freaking love you guys.
Yeah.
Love you too, brother.
So
yeah, love all you guys too.
So real quick, just to add to that, especially as Sean was saying that, I'm just thinking how grateful I am for our team, for these four guys, but also for our whole crew. Mm-hmm. Who really did all the work when it came down to it. We were riding our bikes. We got to have the fun, and they did all the work. And so I'm incredibly grateful for everyone who came together, and also the whole FA community. we were talking about that those notes and the handwritten letters and just hearing stuff, comments on the blog and stuff like that. Those were the things that drove us. And so, it wasn't just us writing that helped the team, helped Team FARA complete the world's toughest bike race. It was the entire community coming together to support that effort and get us all across. So I'm just incredibly grateful to be a part of the whole thing too.
Absolutely.
All right, I think we've taken enough of these guys' time. I know, John, you've got a baby to tend to, so yeah, so we appreciate your time today.
Absolutely, guys. It's been a pleasure and
Thanks,
an honor as always to be part of this. So whatever I can do to help, please keep asking, keep letting me know. I would just love to participate.
All right, well, thanks, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day and have a good week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Take care, fellas.
You also.
Thanks, guys. See you.
Thank you for listening to the Two Disabled Dudes podcast. To find this episode and links to some of the stuff we talked about today, find us online at twodisableddudes.com or subscribe on iTunes.
We'd like to hear from you and feature your feedback and questions on future podcasts. Be sure to visit us at twodisableddudes.com to find our contact info and connect on social media.
Special thanks to our audio producer, Jake Tompkins, who also composed the music.
We'll share a new podcast every other week. We hope you'll listen and share it with a friend. Until next time, keep living with urgency.